Hello aspirants, welcome to Ishma AS Academy. Today's class is all about History, Chapter 8, Ashoka, the Emperor who gave up war. Ashoka was one of the greatest rulers known to history, and on his instructions, inscriptions were carved on pillars as well as on rock surfaces. The empire that Ashoka ruled was founded by his grandfather Chandragupta Maurya more than 2300 years ago. So, grandfather of Ashoka is Chandragupta Maurya. Chandragupta was supported by a wise man named Chanakya or Kautilya. He is also known as Kautilya. Many of Chanakya's ideas were written down in a book called Arthashastra. So this is the point we have to remember. Chanakya's ideas are written in or were written in Arthashastra. There were several cities in the empire. These included the capital Pataliputra, Taxila and Ujjain. So when these names are mentioned in the exam, we have to remember that it is all about Ashoka Empire. Taxila was a gateway to the northwest, including Central Asia, while Ujjain lay on the route from north to South India. Merchants, officials and craftspersons probably lived in these cities. So this is the Mauryan Empire and their principal cities and some of the places where the inscriptions were found. So the main cities we discussed are Ujjain, Taxila and Padaliputra. So there are many other cities also like Sarnath, Kaushambi, Rupnath, Sanchi, Pankuraria, Sopara, Sanathi, Maski, Yaragudi, Brahmagiri. So you can take screenshot of this image if you want. Okay. Next is Ashoka's empire. In his empire, officials were appointed to collect taxes from farmers, herders, craftspersons, and traders who lived in villages and towns in the area. Officials also punished those who disobeyed the ruler's order. Many of these officials were given salaries. Messengers went to and fro, and spies kept a watch on the officials. The emperor supervised all the work by himself with the help of members of the royal family and senior ministers. There were other areas or provinces. Each of these was ruled from a provincial capital such as Taxila or Ujjain. So which is known as the provincial capital Taxila or Ujjain. So these types of questions are asked in objective exams like PSC, LDC exam are nearing by. So these are the questions we can expect from ancient history. Although there was some amount of control from Padaliputra, royal princes were often sent as governors. Local customs and rulers were probably followed. Besides, there were vast areas between these centers. Here the Mauryas tried to control roads and rivers, which were important for transport, and to collect water resources were available as tax and tribute. There were also the forested regions. People living in these areas were more or less independent but may have been expected to provide elephants, timber, honey and wax to Mauryan officials. Next, Ashoka. The most famous Mauryan ruler was Ashoka. He was the first ruler who tried to take his message to the people through inscriptions. Most of Ashoka's inscriptions were in Prakrit. This is very important that Ashoka's inscriptions were in Prakrit and were written in Brahmi script. And Kalinga is the ancient name of coastal Orissa. Ashoka fought a war to conquer Kalinga. However, he was so horrified when he saw the violence and bloodshed that he decided not to fight any more wars. So these are, if you want to understand it clearly or in story based manner, you can watch the movie Ashoka of Shah Rukh Khan, and in that film some of the points are discussed in that or uh, shown in that film. He is the only king in the history of the world who gave up conquest after winning a war. Ashoka's Dhamma did not involve worship of a god or performance of a sacrifice. He felt that such as father tries to teach his children, he had a duty to instruct his subjects. He was also inspired by the teachings of Buddha. He appointed officials known as Dhamma Mahatma who went from place to place teaching people about Dhamma due to problems like people in the empire followed different religions, and this sometimes led to conflict. Animals were sacrificed, slaves and servants were ill treated. Besides, there were quarrels in families and with neighborhood. Ashoka got his messages inscribed on rocks and pillars, instructing his officials to read his message to those who could not read it themselves. Ashoka also sent messengers to spread ideas about Dhamma to other lands such as Syria, Egypt, Greece, and Sri Lanka. He built roads, dug wells, and built rest houses. Besides, he arranged for medical treatment for both human beings and animals. So, this is all about Ashoka, the emperor who gave up war, and thus we are calling him as Ashoka the Great. And next chapter is chapter 9, Vital Villages and Thriving Towns. You will see that in next video. Thank you.